All right, you curious fuckers. Want to know some shit about Colonel Sanders? We're talking the man, the myth, the greasy chicken legend himself.
This is more than just some finger-licking deep dive.
Damn right, we've got his whole Wikipedia page laid out, ready to uncover the man behind the bucket.
And let me tell you, the Colonel's story, it's the kind of American dream bullshit they make movies about. Rags to riches, but with a whole lot of crazy detours along the way.
This dude's life wasn't no easy street stroll, more like a demolition derby,
Oh, absolutely.
born in a freaking shack.
In Indiana.
Indiana.
Yep. Home of the Hoosiers, not exactly the heart of fried chicken country, right?
You'd think Kentucky Fried Chicken would be, well, from Kentucky.
Yeah, but nope. Colonel was a straight-up Hoosier. Deadbeat dad, Bible-thumping mama who probably thought dancing was a sin.
Sounds like a recipe for a wild childhood.
You got that right. Ditched school at 12, probably figured algebra was less useful than hustling for a buck. That's the thing, though. All that early instability, it forged something in him. This insane work ethic, He was a farmhand, streetcar conductor, even a blacksmith. Hell, he even practiced law for a bit.
Oh yeah, the lawyer thing. Speaking of which, did you hear about the time he got into a brawl with his own client?
No way, seriously?
Right in the courtroom?
Yeah.
Talk about not seeing eye to eye on legal fees.
Gotta admire the passion, though, right?
Yeah, but it pretty much sunk his law career faster than a soggy biscuit.
True, but I guess that's what happens when your temper flares hotter than a deep fryer.
And then, boom, the Great Depression hits. Colonel's down on his luck, slinging gas at a service station. But here's where shit gets real interesting. He starts cooking and selling fried chicken right there in the station.
Pure genius, right? Spotting a need and
Yeah.
filling it with delicious, greasy goodness. Who knew a global empire could be born from a gas station kitchen?
And it gets even wilder. This guy gets into a shootout with a competitor.
A shootout? What the hell?
Yeah, over customers, bullets flying, people dying. Sounds like a scene out of some Tarantino flick.
Well, gotta remember, this was a different time. The South was still pretty much the Wild West, especially when it came to business.
Yeah, and Colonel, he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, literally. So he survives that whole mess, finds his calling frying up chicken. But here's the kicker. The first KFC franchise, it wasn't in Kentucky.
Wait, what? Where was it then?
Utah, of all places. Go figure.
So the Colonel was aiming for something bigger than just Kentucky, huh?
Damn right. This wasn't some boardroom scheme either. The Colonel's out there grinding, sleeping in his car, cooking for potential franchise owners himself. He wanted to prove that his chicken was the real deal, not just some fly-by-night operation.
Talk about a hands-on approach to building an empire.
But hold on, because here's the real mind-blower. At 73 years old, Colonel sells KFC for $2 million. Not too shabby for a guy who started in a shack, right?
That's a hell of a payday.
But get this, the deal didn't include Canada or some U.S. states.
He held on to a piece of the pie even after cashing out.
Yep. Guess he couldn't fully let go. And speaking of not letting go, remember that legendary temper?
Oh yeah, the Colonel was known for speaking his mind.
Even with millions in the bank, he still had some choice words for KFC, especially about their gravy.
Well, he didn't like their gravy.
He called it goddamn slop and actually sued them over it.
You're kidding! He sued KFC over gravy.
Dead serious. The Colonel was a stubborn son of a bitch, and he wasn't about to let anyone mess with his legacy, especially not over some watery-ass gravy.
Talk about dedication to your craft. He was a control freak, but he really cared about the quality of his food.
So we've got this complex, volatile, brilliant dude, built a fried chicken empire from nothing. But the Colonel, he was more than just a cook. He was a brand. The white suit, the goatee, the whole folksy grandpa vibe, that was all part of the plan.
He was a master marketer before marketing was even a thing, really. He understood that people buy into an image, a story, as much as they buy a product.
And it worked like a charm. The Colonel became as recognizable as Uncle Sam or Mickey Mouse.
A true American icon, built on fried chicken and a carefully cultivated persona.
And let's not forget, under all that charm, the Colonel had a dark side. The temper, the swearing, that wasn't just an act. He was a force to be reckoned with.
He was a man of contradictions, that's for sure. But that intensity, it was part of what made him so successful. It's like they say, behind every great fortune, there's a crime.
Maybe behind every great bucket of chicken, there's a raging asshole.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, he definitely wasn't afraid to ruffle some feathers.
So we've got the Colonel, raking it in,
Yeah.
still cussing out KFC execs, but wait, there's more to the story, right?
Oh yeah, things are about to get even weirder. So we left off with the Colonel living the good life in Canada, flipping the bird to KFC with one hand and slinging his authentic chicken with the other. You'd think that'd be the end of the story, right?
Yeah, sounds like he's got it made. What else could this guy possibly do?
Well, remember how we talked about his mama, the Bible-thumping one?
Oh yeah, the one who probably thought rock and roll was the devil's music.
Seems that side of his upbringing, it caught up with him. Big time.
Wait, hold on. Are you trying to tell me the Colonel got religion? The guy who practically invented swear words and one shot at a dude over chicken, he found Jesus.
Yep. In 1970, the Colonel, at the ripe old age of 80, gets baptized. In the frickin' Jordan River, no less.
Holy shit. You're serious.
Oh, yeah, dead serious. He even started hanging out with Billy Graham and Jerry Falwell. Talk about a late-life conversion.
That's one hell of a plot twist. So did he start preaching in that white suit of his, turning KFC buckets into collection plates?
I doubt it, but he did get pretty vocal about his newfound faith. Seems like maybe after all those years of hustling and fighting, he was looking for something more, you know?
Maybe he felt guilty about all that goddamn slop KFC was serving up in his name. I'm just messing with you. But really, it's kind of wild to think about. The Colonel, the swearing, fighting, chicken-slinging Colonel, finding comfort in religion. You don't see that every day.
Shows you, even the most hardcore, driven sons of bitches can change, right? Maybe all those years of chasing success left him with a hole in his soul, and religion filled it. Or maybe he was just trying to get on the big guy's good side before it was too late.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So he finds God, lives out his days in Canada, making peace with his demons. That's got to be a pretty peaceful ending for a guy who lived life at 100 miles an hour.
It was peaceful, relatively speaking, but don't think for a second that he went soft. He was still working, traveling, making sure his name and his chicken were treated right, even if that meant calling out KFC every chance he got.
Stubborn till the end, huh? Never one to back down from a fight. But eventually, even the Colonel had to, face the final curtain.
In 1980, at the age of 90, the Colonel finally kicked the bucket. Not a bad run for a guy who started out in a shack and had more jobs than I've had hot meals.
90 years. He lived through some shit, man. Wars, depressions, the whole 9 yards. And he built a goddamn fried chicken empire.
Yeah.
Pissed off more people than you can shake a drumstick at. Found God and became an American icon. And that's what I call a life well lived. But what's the legacy?
That's the big question, isn't it? He was a pioneer, a visionary, and a total pain in the ass, but he never lost that fire. He showed us that you can come from nothing and build something amazing, that sometimes the best things in life come from struggle and hard work.
He was the American dream, warts and all. Hustled, fought, clawed his way to the top. And he did it all his own way. Love him or hate him, you got to respect that. But was it all worth it in the end?
And that's a question for the ages. Was the Colonel truly happy with what he built, with the choices he made? Do you find some kind of peace? Or was he always chasing something else, something he could never quite reach? We'll never know for sure.
Deep thoughts, man. Deep thoughts.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what keeps his story so damn interesting, The mystery, the contradictions, the never-ending speculation. It keeps us talking about the Colonel, making us think about what we're willing to sacrifice for our own ambitions.
Yeah, it's a story that hits us on so many levels. Business, ambition, family, faith, all that human shit. The Colonel, with all his flaws and craziness, he was like a mirror to our own desires and struggles.
Well said. So next time you're chowing down on some extra crispy, remember the man behind the bucket? He wasn't just some cartoon character in a white suit. He was a complex, driven, and, pretty damn fascinating human being.
And maybe, just maybe, that's the most important lesson we can take away from his story. The next time you judge someone, dismiss them as a joke, remember that there's always more to the story.
Word.
So, last we left off, the Colonel is knee-deep in the Jordan River finding God. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, who'd have thought that greasy chicken and divine intervention went together? But even with all that newfound holiness, I bet he didn't go soft, did he?
Not a chance. He kept hustling, kept fighting for his chicken, and yeah, he kept pissing people off. It seems like finding God just gave him a new kind of fire.
Like he was on a mission from the Almighty to make sure everyone got a taste of the real deal.
Exactly. It's a total head-scratcher, though, right? One minute he's getting baptized, the next he's cussing out some poor KFC manager.
Like I said, the Colonel, he contained multitudes. Speaking of KFC, did those corporate clowns ever fix their gravy after the Colonel sued them?
Well, they settled out of court. And the Colonel, he wasn't one to sit around sulking. He opens his own restaurant, Claudia Sanders, the Colonel's lady, the only place besides KFC allowed to serve his original recipe.
So he basically told KFC to kiss his ass and started his own chicken empire. All while praising the Lord, of course.
The man was a force of nature, I tell ya. Even in his 80s, he wasn't afraid to start over to prove a point.
But let's be real, the Colonel was more than just his chicken. He was a brand. The white suit, the goatee, that whole I'm your grandpappy routine. He knew how to work it.
He knew how to market himself before marketing was even a thing. He wasn't just selling chicken, he was selling a whole goddamn experience. Southern hospitality, down-home goodness, the American dream on a platter.
And people ate it up, literally and figuratively.
It's funny how he changed over time, you know? Started as this rough-and-tumble cook, then morphed into this refined Southern gentleman, and then boom, he finds God. It's like he was playing different characters throughout his life, always adapting to the situation.
But through it all, he stayed true to himself, never lost that spark, that stubbornness that made him who he was. Even at 90 years old, supposedly finding peace with the Lord, he was still calling out bullshit and fighting for his chicken. Because some things never change.
That's the Colonel we all know and love, I guess. The guy who never backed down, always spoke his mind no matter who he pissed off. A real one, for better or worse.
So the Colonel, he finally kicks the bucket in 1980, full of fried chicken and the Holy Spirit, leaving behind a legacy that's more complicated than a 12-piece bucket with all the fixins. So what's the lesson here? Was he a business genius? A marketing whiz? A religious nut job? Or just a stubborn old bastard who loved his chicken?
Maybe he was all of those things. He was a living, breathing contradiction, a man of extremes, could be kind, could be a real dick, built a fast food empire, but found peace in religion. He was a product of his time, but also a total trailblazer.
A reminder that things ain't always black and white. People are messy, and success ain't always pretty. Sometimes you gotta hustle, gotta fight, gotta be a little bit of an asshole to get to the top.
Maybe there's something to be said for embracing those contradictions, not being afraid to be different, to shake things up, to piss a few people off along the way. The Colonel, he definitely did that. And he left his mark on the world, no doubt about it.
Damn right. So next time you're tearing into a bucket of KFC, spare a thought for the man behind the bucket. He was more than just a mascot. He was a flawed, fascinating, unforgettable human being.
A true American original.
And on that note, we're closing out this deep dive, you magnificent bastards. Go out there, make some noise, fight for what you believe in, and hey, don't forget to pour one out for the Colonel.
Just not on the gravy.